Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, and I got my line mate Matt with me. And today, we'll be going over the last couple of Blackhawks games, what everyone can't seem to stop talking about, Patrick Kane and what he's going to do. I'm standing firm in my prediction, and some NHL news. So, Matt, Blackhawks have been on a 5-game winning streak. Is this the longest of the season?
Probably the longest in the last 2 years, I would say.
They and they haven't been beating, say like run of the muck teams, like Anaheim and Phoenix. They've been beating they beat Toronto,
Dallas.
they beat Dallas.
Yeah.
They've beat some teams that are heading into the playoffs with the really good records. And yesterday they did it without Patrick Kane because he got sent home. Rumor is he's going to NYR, to the Rangers, the Rags. Matt, how are the Blackhawks pulling these strings of wins together when we're trying to tank?
I don't know, man. The new kids that we're calling up are just kind of, I don't know what it is. It's crazy. They're scoring their first shots, first shifts, and they're just playing very well, actually. The goaltending's been good. I think Mrazek had 42, 44 saves yesterday, and that's good. Defense has been solid, and it's weird. It's very weird that we're beating, like Toronto and Dallas. Very surprised about that. Like you said, it's not like we're beating up on Phoenix and all the lower tier teams, but they're actually playing hard against these really good teams. It's good to see, but you still want to be in the bottom 5 for that first round lottery chance. So we'll see.
Last night, David Guss, an Orland Park native, scored his first Blackhawks goal. Was that on his first shift, Matt?
First shift, first shot. Yep. And here's something I remembered going back in the day. Taves, first shift, first shot, first goal, and it was against the Sharks too. It's kind of crazy how that coincidence is. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, to be honest with you, him, we've had Cole Gutman that's come up. Gutman is playing, man. Like he's that he understands the assignment, that he's playing for a job. And I think that he's kind of surprised me. I think he's been pretty noticeable out there in the games that he's played.
Yeah, I had a buddy who goes to a lot of Wolves and Rockford games. He told me that Gust was probably one of the best guys he's seen in the last couple games he's been going. He goes, this guy was all over the ice, and he looked fantastic. And I did a little research looking back. He played for the Wolves last year, and he thought about retiring, which is crazy. He didn't feel like he was getting any opportunities anywhere, and I guess the Ice Hogs called, and he playing really well, and he got that 2-year extension, and he played his first game yesterday and scored on his first shot. It's very impressive, and it's good to see these these gems come up, because the last couple of years, man, all these call-ups really haven't been all that special. Like, we've been kind of let down. Like Bodan was kind of a hyped guy. We were excited about, and didn't really pan out. Mitchell still, I think, needs another year. Because he got hurt in the beginning of the year. He did not really get a fair shake here. But yeah, man, it's good to see these young guys stepping up for us, because we need some help.
Khrushchev scored yesterday, and dude, I think that he's been someone who is, I think, finally getting over that hump to make it into the NHL. He's been noticeable all season. How are you feeling about Khrushchev maybe going into next year?
Yeah, when he was playing with Kane, he looked really, really good. He looked comfortable, and the plus minus isn't that good. I mean, really no one on the team's got a good plus minus, but his numbers are still low, but he does look like he's really improved, and I'd probably like to see him one more year. Maybe put him with Reichel, put him with a skill guy, and give him a chance and see what he can do. That's what I would like to try with him.
Okay. Do you what kind of line do you think that he would be on? Is he more of a third liner, second liner? What do you think?
I think on a rebuilding team, he's definitely a top 6. I really liked him with Max Domi too. I'd like to see like a Max Domi, Reichel, Khrushchev type of line if Max Domi stays, which I'm really okay with. I think he's been a really good Blackhawk this year. He scored last night. I think he's really close to 20. And I think he got his teeth knocked out yesterday with a high stick, no penalty call, and ended up scoring right when he came back. Dude's a gamer. I mean, I love types like that type, like Andrew Shaw, Adam Burrish types guys. This kid's definitely got more skill than those guys. But
yeah,
if I'm really surprised he wasn't scratched last night, being so close to the deadline. I thought teams would be all over him. Even I predicted like Edmonton. I think they could use a little toughness with him. But like I said, if he's not dealt, I'm happy with that, and I think they should get on the extension talk right away.
Do you think that Davidson is thinking like, hey, Domi's the kind of kid that I want to keep around here? I think that he's possibly a natural leader. That guy, he keeps things loose. They say Anthony Asio is really good in the locker room. He's a great locker room guy. They say he helps keep things light in there, even when they've had a lot of adversity this year. That he's been one of those guys who typically is in there, keeping the guys, in line, not in line, but like, keeping them loose.
Yeah. I never heard that about him, but I've heard rumors about him even getting a lot of interest. I think Buffalo was interested in him. I mean, that speed is really, really impressive. And if he could just kind of get it together and stay consistent, he could be a very dangerous player on any team. He just, he's got to find that consistency, I think. But going back to Domi, yeah, you're right. He's got a lot of leadership traits and qualities. I think he'd benefit a rebuilding team very well. And I know he really enjoyed playing with Kane. I kind of would like to see those guys play together more, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But I think Davison should give this guy a 2-year extension, maybe 3 years, even if it depends on what they work out. If they don't plan on resigning him, though, they got to try to move him, but they got to be careful if you're going to keep playing him so close to the deadline. I mean, that's how bad stuff happens. I mean, look, last night he took that stick to the mouth. It could have been far worse, if he had to get like some surgery or a broken jaw or whatever. I still think he would play, but that's the stuff you got to be careful with this deadline coming.
Yeah. I like him too, man. To be honest with you, I've heard no talk about Domi. Really, probably because
earlier we did, yeah, kind of
earlier, yeah. I would probably say because maybe Kane is taking up all of the high headlines right now.
Yeah,
but I'd like to see him stick around, especially on a rebuilding team. I think he's one of those guys who I think that he personally wants to be a part of an organization, not just a player on the team. He wants to be like, hey, look, kid. We like you. We like what you bring to the team. We want you to be a part of this organization, kind of like how, Patrick Sharp and Brent Seabrook, like how those guys were kind of treated, how they're like essentially a part of the organization where, other players come in and they kind of just fill roles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's kind of been looking for that ever since, Phoenix. I mean, he was supposed to be the man there, and they ended up getting rid of him, and poor guy's been bouncing around quite a bit, and he's had nothing but good things to say about this team and the city. And I mean, he was even throwing shades at Columbus, and
yeah,
he ends up talking smack about that city, and he goes out against them and scores a goal, and yeah, whatever, I don't care, I'm not sorry, But I like I said, I would love to have him here. One of my favorite players this season.
So the Hawks made trades with the Sens. We got Nikita Zaitsev and 2 picks for future considerations. Those considerations were not named during the deal. Essentially, I think this just helps Ottawa with cap space. So in Kane's last 2 games, man, I'll tell you what, he's been tearing it up, dude. He's got 7 goals, 8 games, and I think 5 assists or 6 assists, something like that.
Yeah, it's unreal. He's back. Showtime is back. Yep.
Everyone started talking shit, and he's like, all right, well, whatever. Yeah. I'll start scoring some points,
my
on
hips
this god awful team.
Yeah, my hips don't lie. Yeah.
So they're saying that a deal is in place between the Rangers and the Hawks. To be honest with you, I think that they're still talking. I think that there's an offer on the table. Patrick Kane was sent home last night. He didn't play in last night's game. He was probably notified by Davidson saying, hey, look, here's a deal that we have from New York. This is what they want to give us. We send you, what do you think type of a deal. He probably went home to talk it over with his family, and he's probably having a hard time, man. I mean, he came here as a young kid. He made this place a home, and he's deciding on whether he met a girl from here, has a kid with her, and now he's deciding whether he's going to leave for, a few months to go with the Rangers, who, to be honest with you, I think that they might be bounced out in the first round and just to come back, where he can essentially just stay, wear a Hawks sweater, his entire career, and continue to climb the, the all-time list of Hawks greats. I think it's a really hell of a decision for him to make. It's not any easier knowing that Taves is on the mend and they're kind of not doing it together. His probably his first big decision that he's had to make as a player without Taves' involvement,
Yeah.
And looking for a way forward. Where are you at? I know that I'm still saying it. Patrick Kane stays. Where are you at, man?
You know what? If they didn't send him home yesterday, I was, hoping he would. It looks like he's going to stay, but yeah, it's very, very tough if they sent him home to go think about it. But, New York, I don't really know if they have anything like good to offer us. I don't know if it would be worth it. Even if even if he wants to go, it's not going to benefit the Hawks. Then don't do it. They moved that Russian kid yesterday to Vancouver, and I thought he was a part of the trade.
Kravtsov?
Yeah, I thought we would get this kid, and he's gone. So we're not going to get an NHL player. We're going to get, probably a good prospect. I'm hearing defensive kids. I forget. There's so many names now, but I don't want to get attached to one and get, oh yeah, we're going to get this guy, and we don't even get a guy close to it. But there's no first round pick involved, which is, it's going to be a higher pick, and you never know type of thing. It's not like it's a top 5 early pick, so it could be all up in the air. But sending him home I think he was actually in California, correct? So he made the trip, and they sent him home. That's kind of that's weird to me. So it might seem like he does want to go. And it's probably the only team he wants to go to. And I agree with you. Like, this team could... I watched their full game yesterday against Ovi and the Caps. They walked all over the Rangers yesterday. All over them. And their problem wasn't scoring. It was their defense. And we know Patrick Kane is all offense. He's not known for his defense. He'll never be known for his defense. I think that's their big need. And I think they're making a mistake, honestly. So... I think the Rangers could get bounced in the first round very easily, too, because Shesterkin's not playing well either. And they better get it together and figure it out, because I know another defenseman went down in that game, too, Lindgren.
Yeah.
He's a big minutes guy there. He's very important. And you know what? He was in a sling yesterday. They said something with his shoulders off. That's going to be a couple of weeks. So they might want to rethink it anyway. Okay, maybe we should trade for a defenseman, even like a Jake McCabe, like a guy that is available like that.
Now,
and you're going to make a trade for Kane and possibly move some good prospects. Okay, I guess it won't hurt you now, but in the future it could. But your need is defense. And I've talked to a couple of Rangers fans, and they're all excited because it's Patrick Kane. Of course, if I'm a Rangers fan and a guy from New York, a 3-time Stanley Cup, hero. We got an MVP. Of course, it's exciting as hell, but there's a lot of them that don't want him because they think their real issue is defense. And after watching that game yesterday, I think their issue is defense. I think Kane will help, and it will be very cool to see the Breadman and Kane reunite. I mean, those guys were absolute money together. It's going to be cool, but in the playoffs, it's a more defensive game. And it's not going to be 7-5 games. It's going to be closer games. And
3-2, 4-3.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be... the Rangers should think about it, too. I mean, I want Kane to stay. But it's not... but the Rangers, I think... after that injury last night, if I'm Chris Drury, I'm taking a step back and say, hold on here. I got a guy who's going to be out for a couple months. We're in the sixth or seventh, the playoff spot. They're not even in the top 3. So you got to win these games. I mean, I think they're going to still make it, but they're going to match up against a really good team. So yeah, I like going back to your question though. I know it was a couple minutes ago because I'm ranting on a little bit, but I think sending him home yesterday was probably a sign like this could very realistically happen, which sucks.
I think that you made a really good point about Lindgren because actually it was something that I wanted to talk about. He, like you said, he does chew up big minutes for the Rangers. Now they do need a guy who can chew up some minutes. He's in a sling. If he's got a shoulder dislocation, we're looking at 4 to 6 weeks, minimum for this guy to try to get his shoulder right, dependent on what kind of a shoulder dislocation he had. Because there's one where, you pop it back in, you'll be okay in a few weeks. Then there's others where if you tear your labrum, you need to have surgery on that, or else there's going to be instability in your shoulder and you can't play. Yep. You can't play with it.
So he'll be shut down. They'll shut him down to the playoffs. So, yeah. And that's a huge problem because they need a Mark Savard type of guy, a McCabe type of a guy. To be honest with you, maybe they're like, hey, you know what? How about we do a McCabe deal and then take it from there? I mean, Kane can help. But like you said, man, these are going to be 3-2 overtime wins, 4-3 OT wins. They're not really high scoring affairs in the playoffs, unless we're talking about Carolina and the Lightning. Remember that a couple years back where Carolina was up like 5-1, end up losing 7-5. Yeah.
I remember watching that game. I couldn't believe it. They had like a kind of just a carousel going to the penalty box.
Yeah, they beat themselves. Yeah.
And Tampa just kept on scoring on them on these. I'm like, I can't believe this. There's another penalty and they get another power play goal. I'm like, this is incredible.
Poking the bear. I mean, even if you think about this, if they do land Kane, I don't think they could beat Boston right now. I mean, for shit's sake, Boston's goalie's scoring goals. I don't know if you saw that. Allmark scored a goal last night, an open netter still, but that team's on fire right now. I don't count Tampa out. That team's still amazing. They're playoff, they're like the Hawks were. They're playoff. They know they're tested. They know what to do to win. Honestly, man, I think Toronto made some good moves. I think the only thing that's going to hold Toronto back is the inexperience in net. But the Rangers, man, even like Carolina, I think Carolina, they've been embarrassed enough. I think they're going to get over the hump this year. I'd like to see them add even a Max Domi, a guy like him, bring him back, get him in that bottom 6, even mid 6 guys. I don't think the Rangers can beat Carolina. I don't even think the Rangers could beat Tampa. Maybe even the Leafs or Boston. The East is so good this year. So
I think Tampa can beat the Rangers.
I do too. Yeah,
I think the Rangers are hurting right now, which is a big part of it. They're not at their full strength right now, and I think because of that, they can get bounced.
I think the Rangers' turning point this year was trading Ryan Reeves. I think they traded their heart and soul in that locker room, and ever since that day, they've struggled. Even the Hawks put the beat down on them. When Jacob Trouba went on his little, he went on a little tirade. He was hitting guys. They were good hits and everything. He's fighting Taves and trying to get his team sparked. But they made that trade and they just weren't the same team. Last year they lost in Game 7. That was their Stanley Cup to most of the Rangers fans. They thought, we made it far. Yeah, he didn't win. You haven't won anything since '94. So this is like they got like a 2-year window. I think. No. And now the first round is going to be insane for the East. It is going to be insane. There are so many good teams.
Lafferty was also a healthy scratch in that Sharks game. I wanted to mention him because he's a favorite of mine. I'd really hate to see him go, but he has interest from the Bruins, the Oilers, the Lightning, and the Leafs. What if the Lightning get a guy like Lafferty, man?
It's like getting another Hagel.
Yeah,
and
2 years in a row.
I think Lafferty might be a better penalty killer. and centers are more valuable. I mean, this guy can win faceoffs, and that would be a crazy trade if Tampa pulled that off. I did hear that Boston is kind of taking a step back from Lafferty because they made that trade with Washington the other day. They brought in Orlov from Washington, a defenseman, so I think they might be done. Maybe don't count them out yet, but that Pagnotta from the fourth period said that it's very unlikely now that they're going to do that because they went with another defenseman. But even going to the Leafs, can you imagine him on that team too? Their centers already. They have 5. They'll have 5 centers, including maybe they're going to plan on keeping Tavares on the wing, and maybe they're going to move Kampf up, David Kampf, and maybe they're going to want Lafferty to play fourth line center. And their
Kampf is such a scorer now.
Oh, I know he's got doubled in his Blackhawks career.
He's got 4 or 5 goals then.
I mean, the faceoffs were great and everything, but
yeah,
I mean,
they were.
Can't score. It comes down to that too, bud. So
I think between him and Taves, they're the only two who could win a faceoff.
Yeah, that year was brutal. Yeah. Faceoffs have been very good this year, and going back to faceoffs anyway with what's his name, Ryan O'Reilly has been a faceoff demon for the Leafs. Yeah. They're raving about him. That was a great trade, and I think he's gonna. I would like to see him fail because I'm just a dick. But I think the Leafs could get over that hump this year and get into the second round. I don't think they're going to get past the second round, but possibly the first round. These guys have to. They have to wake up. The GM's doing everything he can. He's bringing in players every year to help. They got to start performing sooner or later.
Yeah. O'Reilly I'd say O'Reilly and Bergeron were the 2 guys, man. I think that have really give Taves a run for his money when they play. His face-off percentage is it's usually down to about 50% on each of them when they play each other. It's usually pretty evenly matched, which is pretty incredible because Taves is so dominant at the face-off dot when he plays anybody else.
The problem with Taves is he can win the face-off, but we suck so bad we lose the puck. But when Ryan O'Reilly wins a face-off, they can hold his first shift. They were in the zone for like 2 minutes. Wow. And he had like 3 shots in his first shift. That's how good the Leafs are. When you're a puck possession team, that faceoff is huge. That's why Boston is so good and Toronto's so good. They got these guys that, like Bergeron, buckles down and he steps up. He's a great leader, very underrated leader. I know Chara wore that C for a long time, but Bergeron could have easily been that captain of that team too for many years.
Absolutely. It's the first time in 20 years that there hasn't been Keith, Siebes, Taves, or Kane in the Hawks lineup, which is truly incredible. Kane is not gone yet. I would like to say that. But it is, we are approaching the end of an era. But before we go any further, I want to talk about Manscaped because they're selling beard products. They are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now, you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code Tomahawk20 for 20% off and free shipping. Now, it's time to tame your mane. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all your stubble trouble with Manscaped Pro Beard Kit. The Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths. So you get 20% off free shipping with the code Tomahawk20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code Tomahawk20. I love their products. I think that they're great. Take my word for it. Get the body wash. Get the shampoo. It smells great. They even got lip balm, which works out well too, because during the wintertime out here in the north, you got to have some chapstick. So back to the podcast. Pat Foley did a radio show podcast on his retirement, how he's happy and doesn't miss it, but somewhat threw some shots at the current Hawks. Matt, what did Pat Foley have to say?
So I don't know if you listened to it, but he came on a show, Dan McNeil. He was a former score guy that got fired a couple of years ago. And he's got his own little pod radio show, I think in Indiana, like a local bar. And Foley came in and
I like him already.
Yeah. And he was asking, they seem like these guys know each other, so they were kind of laid back. They had some beers together. It was a video like a video thing too. And Danny goes, "So do you miss your job?" And he goes, "Absolutely not." I mean, he's like, "Do you see what's going on over there?" Like just throwing little shots here and there. Like the management team, they dug their own grave, he said. So, and stuff like that. And he also said that, you know, he wanted to keep going for another 2 years, but watching, you know, seeing what's going on, he's actually happy he made his decision. And he didn't really say anything about Vosters either, which I thought maybe he would say, yeah, this kid's kind of goofy or something like that. But he's classy. He was also asked, you know, like, what do you miss anything? And he said he misses Eddie and he missed Dale. He had some good partners over the years. And
yeah, he did.
It was actually a really good podcast. He was talking about, they were kind of giving him rapid fire questions, like who was the best goalie you've ever seen, you know, during your career. And he said Belfour. He goes, I watched Eddie get 200 wins. It was unbelievable. Surprised he didn't, you know, give Corey Crawford any love, but being, you know, winning the 2 championships. But yeah, he did say Eddie was probably his favorite goalie. Keith Magnuson was a big part of his, you know, he loved him. And it was good to hear him. He says honestly, he's kind of an ambassador, he said, but not like Chelly and Savvy. He says he if they ask him to come to something, he'll come, but he's trying to stay away, he said. He's just enjoying life. He said he went skiing in the mountains a couple weeks ago. He said it was great. He's been golfing a lot, and he said he really hasn't been watching much hockey, and it's kind of sad, man, because he was like the voice of a lot of, you know, the generation, the soundtrack to the Blackhawks, if you think about it. And yeah, you know, I think that the Hawks did a poor job with him at the end. I think they should have kept him involved more, like a full-time ambassador type of guy. I think that'd be cool if he's at the games, you know, meet and greeting people and, you know, doing little like radio shows, or even like be like Pat Boyle's job. I think Pat Foley would be amazing at it. But yeah, kind of left, and he seems a bit bitter about it, but I think he's moving on, and he was joking he's been fired twice by the Blackhawks now, and Danny Mac was yeah, I've been fired by the Score twice, and they call me back, blah blah blah, and they're joking about it, and it was good to hear him again. That's but I recommended it. Dan McNeil's podcast. You could probably find it on his page, but if you want to get some Foley action, that's it's about an hour, but it's really good.
Yeah, you know what? I think, you know, once a breakup happens, you know, even with Chelios, you know, you could say, yeah, you would see him coming back for quite a bit. You know, with Foley, he's been with the Blackhawks for so long, and you know, maybe he's looking to just kind of live life a little bit, you know, because, you know, with all of the travel that he's done with the team, you know, for so many years, and being on the road, and now he's got time to go skiing and do all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm sure that he really enjoys it. I think that you hit the nail right on the head. I think that he would be really, really good in Pat Boyle's job. And, you know, to Pat Boyle's credit, I think that he gives a lot of effort into what he does, and that he definitely gives a good amount of effort to be who he is. Vosters and Sharpie, I think that they are they've been given like an impossible assignment.
Yeah, it's like coaching after Q. Colican had no chance.
To take over after Foley and Eddie O, you know, that's insane, especially for Sharp to be a full-time guy. You know, he spent some time in the booth, but, you know, he needed more experience. And to be honest with you, to his credit, he's gotten a lot better as the year has gone on. You know, he's been calling out plays, you know, calling out missed assignments on things that he was not doing at the beginning of the season. So yeah, I think that he's doing good. Vosters, you know, he's just in a bad spot, in an impossible spot, you know, to his credit, but he shows up game in and game out. He prepares himself for the games, which is a credit to himself. And I don't think anybody would have been a good replacement for Pat Foley.
Well, that's another thing Foley said in the podcast. He goes, "You guys think it's just going to the game." He goes, I had to prepare for a game 6 hours before the game. I'd have to look at stats, and he goes, "I do not miss that at all." And it is hard. I mean, you gotta look up the team you're playing, the stats. And he goes, I'd be playing a game on my road trip, and we're going to the next town. He goes, I don't know anything about this team. I never watch them. I got to look at their stats, their headlines, and see what's going on, and talk to, get some intel from other teams, TV guys and stuff like that. He goes, it was stressful. And he goes, the best part was actually calling the game. He's like, I could just kind of call it as I see it type of thing. And he says he misses that, but he does not miss the prep work for it. And the prep work is usually the hardest thing, in any job.
Yeah, I'm even doing this podcast. Yeah, there's prep work that has to go into it, and looking up stats and looking up guys. I'm not saying we do it what Pat Foley does, but there is preparation into doing these things. And to be honest with you, that's probably the worst part of doing this.
Yeah, this is the fun part, just talking about it. Yeah,
just talking about hockey. It's a lot of fun. I completely understand, where he's coming from. So Spencer Knight enters the player's assistant program. I want to talk about this because I think that these guys who are entering this program, there should be a stipulation in the agreement that, that this isn't named, like maybe they're taking stepping away for the team for a little bit, because I think that it kind of invades their privacy. That say they're having a substance abuse problem, they're going through this problem, and then they turn on the news and it's a picture of them. Oh, so and so is Spencer Knight is entering the player's assistant program now because he's got a problem with booze. And I think that's rough on guys. I think that was rough on Carey Price. People are saying, "Oh, of course, Carey Price has a problem. He's been playing for Montreal for the past 15 years, and they suck, and they can't win a Stanley Cup, even though they got the best goalie in the sport." So I think that these guys have a lot of pressure, and it doesn't help that they get this. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it could mean substance abuse. It could mean alcohol. It could mean mental health. And it shouldn't. It should just, they should. It's hard. They gotta. People want to know what's happening to the guys. Like, hey, where did this guy disappear to? They should make it like an injury. It's confidential. It's between him and his doctor and the club, not the media. But the media, they'll stir it up and be like, "Oh, something must be going on with him. He failed a drug test or something."
Right. And I mean, like what they're doing with Kane. There's like a new report out every 10 minutes.
I mean, it's not fair. It's not fair to a guy if in Carey Price, I think he was struggling with his mental health, and I mean, people were labeling, "Oh, he's a drunk," and stuff like that. I mean, come on, dude. He's been their best player for the last decade, and just. They should keep it private. Even I don't even like how the NHL reports the injuries now. I mean, there used to be guys that it would be upper body, lower body. And now they're getting real specific with everything. I mean, there was a time when I think it was during the 2010 year, I think a guy got a shot in the private areas. The weenie, as Dale Talon called it with Pat Foley. And they wrote down ruptured some testicles, or I don't know what happened, but they wrote this down on TSN, and I'm like, Jesus, dude, why the hell you got to say that? That's his business. They're reporting it and stuff like that. But I think all injuries, this guy's out. All right, he's got an injury, and it's not the media. Why? If anything, the media is making it worse. Oh yeah, he's got a sore knee. He's not going to play today. What do you think the other team's going to say? Oh yeah, his knee's bad. Let's pound the shit out of his knee when we're playing him. Stuff like that. I mean, it should be
around the right side because he can't skate on that side.
Exactly. Yeah. It should be private between the teams, and unless the player wants to come out and say it, yeah, I got a broken arm, stuff like that. But when it comes to this stuff, it's very private, and it could be embarrassing for him and his family. And it's just something that you don't want to add on to that. And that's going to make it worse.
Right.
In Spencer Knight's case.
Especially considering how young he is. I thought that he would have taken over the net already.
Same. I thought Bobrovsky would have been, someone would have been calling, hey, can you pay half his salary? We'll take him off your hands. And there's teams out there, like even at the beginning of the year, I thought Edmonton, well, they got Campbell, but maybe 2 years ago, I'm like, maybe Edmonton should go get this guy because Spencer Knight's going to be a stud in that net.
Yeah, he is. McDavid, 2 goals away from number 50. Guys, you're saying he's not human?
No.
I don't. He's not looking human, bro. He's a machine. Definitely.
Skynet built him, and he is he's going to get 200 points.
He's sent from the future.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that even McDavid playing at the rate that he is now would have been an average season for Gretzky in his day.
Yeah, that's how crazy Gretz was. Yeah. And then, like they said, you could take all of his 800 goals away, 800 plus goals away, and he will still be the leading NHL point getter ever.
Yeah, by a mile.
Yep. That's how many assists he's got. That's just insane.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Actually, it might even be by like 800 points or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, McDavid, man. Do you think that McDavid is enough to propel this team to the finals? Because we know that they can make it to the Western Conference Finals. The West is kind of weak. Can they power themselves to the Stanley Cup Finals? Because they're thinking offense. That's all that they're thinking over there in Edmonton. Their rumor has it they're looking to get Erik Karlsson. So instead of defending, they're just going all in on offense, and they're looking to outscore by any means possible. Do you think that that this team has what it takes to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals?
I do, but going back to the Karlsson joke here, so they're going to win games 14-13 if they get Karlsson, because that guy. He scored last night against the Hawks. He's having a good year. I give him that. He is putting up very good numbers as a forward playing defense this year. He is. But that is not the guy you want for the playoffs. Going back to Jake McCabe, you want a Jake McCabe-like guy. And he is not the answer. But I think since the West is so not good, I don't want to say bad, they're just not that great. I think I could see Edmonton coming out on top this year.
Wow.
I just don't. I saw Dallas the other night against the Hawks. Nothing special.
Right.
Vegas, I think I think we beat them, and they can barely beat the Hawks. I know it's different against every other team, but I just don't see it. Mark Stone's out for Vegas, their captain. That's a big piece. Eichel ain't going to do it by himself. And then you got Winnipeg, who is just so goddamn boring to watch, but Connor Hellebuck, good. Kyle Connor, good player. Just the Jets, they're just not like a sexy team to me. I think Edmonton's just going to outscore their problems this year, and I don't think they're going to beat anybody out east, but I think this is the year Connor could make it to the final.
The Avalanche are still in the mix.
They're not that scary to me either. I think they're all banged up still.
Yeah, they could turn it on. They could turn it on.
And Darcy Kemper was very good for those guys last year, and they let him walk. And they brought in Gorgiev, the backup from New York. He's still good, but he's never had that experience because Shesterkin always had the net. He's got no playoff experience.
The Kings can be sneaky too.
Yeah, the Kings are good, but against Edmonton, if it's likely they're probably going to play them being in that Pacific Division. They're not going to beat Edmonton. Edmonton is just they're too much up front. Yeah,
crazy.
I don't know any other team in the West that that could. It'd probably be Colorado, but like I said, they're not making that much noise this year. I mean, Dallas is leading the division, and Dallas is kind of old. Hey, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski, Ryan Suter. I mean, you got Jason Robertson, who's good. Yeah, Rupe Hintz, good. Jake Ottinger, and that's pretty good. But I mean, that's an old team. So I just don't think that they're gonna. I think it's Edmonton's year to get to that final, and if they can gut it out and win a best of 7 against one of those powerhouse out east, good for them. But it's going to be tough.
Can they do it without any injuries? That's the question.
Connor is going to have to elevate his game even more against the East, which is insane because he's playing like a freak of nature right now. I mean, there was a clip of him skating backwards, and he did like I don't even know what the move is called. He cut in between them. He didn't score, but it was like, how the hell did he do that? Guy's just a freak. And then you got the second best player in the league, Draisaitl, who's unbelievable. I mean, I think he's like 25 points in second place behind McDavid. That's how good McDavid's playing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just make a trophy for the third place guy for the next 5 years because these guys are going to be at the top every year.
You know, Jack Johnson mentioned yesterday, he was talking about defending in the league today. And he says a big difference between now and when he came into the league is how you play guys. How, say you have like a 2-on-1, is how you play two guys, because before guys would either pass it, and if there wasn't a lane to pass, then the guy would automatically shoot. He says typically that doesn't happen anymore because the guys today are so skilled that anybody can saucer it, backhand or forehand. He says Kaner's been saucing it, been the best at it for a long time. But guys coming in the league today, everybody's able to sauce it now, and everybody's doing it. So he says it makes it difficult to defend now.
Well, on a 2-on-1, the defenseman, his role is to stay in the middle and get the pass. The goalie is supposed to challenge the shooter. But in my day, the defenseman, the team I played for, the one of the better teams I played for, our coach wanted the defenseman to lay on the ground, drop to the ground, slide towards the net, take away that low pass. But like you said, guys are so good now, they could sauce over the guy. But then he would expect his goalies, to get out on top of the crease, take the net away, and challenge the shooter. But now if you do that, these guys are so good, they could stop so fast. They can hit like an oncoming guy, coming in, and there's a guy on the ground in front of the goalie. The goalie's collided with his defenseman, and the guy could possibly bury an open net. There's so many different scenarios. It's insane.
Right.
But in like Kane, picture Kane and Taves coming down on a 2-on-1. Kane could put the brakes on and just keep dangling until the goalie's jockstrap is gone. And then that pass won't even matter anymore. It's insane how good guys are now. Like back in the day, it was, you just see a defenseman laying there. That guy fires a pass, hits him right in the chest, the play's dead. So I agree with Jack Johnson. It is harder to stop a 2-on-1 now.
Yeah. So your predictions out of the West is going to be it's going to be the Oilers, and do you have one out of the East, or do you want to save that for next week?
Well, even like we said, if Kane goes to New York, I still think that's not good enough. I think this is going to be tough. I think Tampa or Carolina. But the thing is, the first round, there's going to be some really elite teams bounced out of it. So it's hard. It's hard, but I think Rod Brendamore's got these guys focused this year, and don't count Boston out. Look at the year they're having. That's just the thing, though, that President's Cup jinx. You win that President's Cup and you're terrible, like Detroit used to do all those years. And I think the last President's Cup team to win was the 2013 Hawks. So it's hard to win a cup and win that President's Trophy. It's almost like a huge jinx, but yeah, I think Boston, it's hard, man. Like I said, the top 4 teams are probably Boston, Toronto, Carolina, and Tampa for me. I can't make a pick yet.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Tampa. And if Tampa doesn't make it, I think it's going to be Toronto. Yeah. I think that they're just built. They're built properly, up and down. And
they're sacrificed a lot over the last couple of years. I mean, they've been giving a lot of picks away to get these guys. And Ryan O'Reilly's a very good piece, that defensive center that you need. I think that was probably the best trade of this deadline so far.
Yeah, that's probably been other than the Campbell trade, I would probably say one of their top trades.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite Patrick Kane moment? Do you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
My favorite Patrick Kane moment was when OT, might have been 2015. versus OT win versus the Kings. When him and Johnny were on the
2-on-1
breakaway.
Yeah.
They were on the breakaway. Johnny passed it. Kaner scored. Kaner, turned around, did the heartbreaker celebration. That was it, man. It was a big one for me because watching them lose in 2014 to the Kings was too much to bear.
Yeah, it was a tough one.
That game 7 overtime, they both deserve to go on to the next round, man. I'll be honest with you, even how much I hated the Kings, I had to give them their credit, man, because they were just such a they were just matched up so well between the Blackhawks that it made the Stanley Cup Finals, like not even worth watching.
That was it. The winner was the West. Yeah,
that was it. Was essentially the West kind of turned into the East nowadays. So it was that win against the Kings. What about you?
Well, the 2010, obviously the 2010 Stanley Cup clinching goal against Philly. I mean, that's right up there, but I have another one against the Canucks. I think it was 2009.
And
the
backhander?
Well, they were ripping him the whole series. Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
He can't play, or he can't score even strength.
5-on-5.
Can't. Willie Mitchell. He can't score 5-on-5. That guy's brutal. And he goes out and gets a hat trick, all 5-on-5. Just made Roberto Luongo's bitch that series.
Yeah.
And for me, that was kind of like, hey man, I'm the man now. Like, shut the hell up type of moment. And that was a good one for me. Those two, but probably I got to give the edge to that Stanley Cup, the 2010, because I waited so long. I was very young in '91. I don't remember it, like in that final against Pittsburgh. But for this, I was going to the games like very consistently from 2006 to 2010. Like almost every home game I went to, and I invested a lot of money and time into that team. And when he scored that, I was like, oh, my investment paid off. It was so awesome, and it just felt awesome. That was probably the best moment for me. But that runner up against that, it might have been 2010, but I think it was 2009 against Vancouver, because that was awesome.
That was in the playoffs, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the second round.
Yeah,
we beat Calgary, and that was 2009 then, because that was our first time back in 10 years in the playoffs.
Yeah, I want to say I was at I might have watched that game at ESPN Zone with Kim.
Okay,
because we had just started dating, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to take you to. We're going to go watch the Hawks here." Because she learned very early that
hockey comes first.
Yes, she understood the priorities, and
I was at that game.
I remember that because when he scored because that was actually one of my favorites. I think when he scored his hat trick, it was off of the backhand from like
behind the net almost.
No, he was like by the.
Oh no, that was the second goal. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and he burned Willie Mitchell doing it. I think.
Yeah, it was like he was practically by the blue line, wasn't he?
So he made one move, and like Lou committed to the shot, I think, and he just wicked backhander over the glove, and it was oh my god, how the hell did he do that? Like, and
I was shocked.
Yeah, it was very impressive. And then he had a goal. I think it was like a wraparound like goal, and I think it was his second goal of the game. And I just remember it because I was in my. I think you went to a couple of my seats when I was selling tickets, but it was 323. All you look down a little bit, and that was the net. And I just remember seeing Kane behind the net, and I think Taves was his line mate at the time. I forget who his other line mate was, but
it might have been Troy Brouwer.
It could have been, but Lou, I don't know what he was doing. It's like he didn't know Kaner was there, and it happened so fast. It was like a pass behind the net, boom, flip it to the front, wraparound like goal. And Lou couldn't believe it. And I just saw it trickling. I'm like, oh my God, like this is number 2. He's going to get a hattie. And I just remember like, that was a very emotional series too, because it was kind of back and forth with the freaking Sedin sisters going back and, getting power play goals. Those guys were good.
It was a 6-5 game, wasn't it?
It was a very high scoring game. Yeah. And you know what, dude?
Were we were down too.
Buff was his line mate because remember they moved him up to forward.
Oh, right.
Because he was playing defense against the Flames that first round, I think, because there was an injury. But oh my God, dude, that was a crazy series. And they should do a 30 for 30 on those. Just the 2 years alone, even 3 years. I think they met. I think 09, 10, and 11 they met. And it was a bloodbath, man. That was very entertaining hockey to watch. I'm gonna miss that so much.
Yeah. Especially because they're both not very good now.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, all those guys are gone. Like it's an end of an era for like a lot of teams. Like all those like Kesslers and Bieskas are gone. The Sedins are long done. Burroughs is it's crazy. Time flies.
I'll never forget seeing Kane and just like, man, I hope this kid never gets hurt. He just looks so small out there, but he made it so difficult to hit him though at the same time, which is why I think that they stopped where they were like, hey, look, stop trying to hit this kid because he's just going to stick handle his way out of it.
That was Vancouver's issue. That was their issue. They couldn't get away from the tough guy game. And the Hawks power play was, I think Buff had like 4 power play goals that series. I think he got a hat trick in Vancouver the next game. That's how good he was playing. And even David Bolin, he kind of emerged that series too as like the pest, the agitator, the Troy Murray shutdown man. And he had a great series. Man, it was great times, man.
If you're listening, do us a favor, hit us up. You can email us or get us on Twitter. Let us know what your favorite Patrick Kane moment is. We'd love to hear what it is. I've got, a few more I'd like to share, but that's it. That's all that we got for you tonight. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next one. This is Tom Hawk. We're out of here.